Many Americans and people all around the world fantasize about leaving their day jobs, sticking it to the man, and going and following your dreams. About 11 months ago, I did that for myself. I've talked a lot on this channel about how to quit your job, but not much about when exactly is the right time to quit. So today we're going to cover how to know when it is time to leave your job, my 7 rules of my personal experience from doing this. I've been doing this self-employment thing for about 11 months now, and I definitely have a new perspective on what life is like when you decide to quit, so I thought I'd give my thoughts. Quitting your job is definitely not for everyone, and that's fine. I've gone over extensively about how having a job can be a great thing if you're learning, you're earning, you're making connections. Having a boss means that you have an agreement with someone who gives you work and will pay you consistently. And when you don't have a boss, not only do you have to go out and find that work, but you also have to complete it and get paid for it. It's like adding 3 more jobs to your current job. Imagine taking your situation now and next week you have no income. Like, not having a boss is great. Like, there's benefits to that, but not when you're solely responsible for giving yourself work and negotiating your terms. So if you need some stability, this is not the best thing for you. I just want to add in that disclaimer. You need to consider 3 things when you're debating whether or not to leave your job. And I'm going to expand more on these throughout the video. But number one, you need to have the practical means to leave your job. That means you need to be in the financial position to be able to quit. Number two, you need to be mentally prepared for the journey, which is going to be brutal. Like, do you have the ability to withstand the good times and the bad times? Because there will be plenty. Because with a job, you have that stability. You have more of that kind of gradual, steady paycheck. With no job, you could feel amazing one week, like it's the best week ever. And then the next week, you feel like the world is ending and the client work falls through, something bad happens. You just don't know what's going to happen. And the third thing to consider, and this is related to the mental side, and I'm not sure what to call with this one. We're going to call it the spiritual side. Is this something that you have the burning desire to do in your heart? Like, are you quitting your job because it sounds cool or because you have a burning desire to do something and be great at it? If you have the practical means, the emotional and mental discipline, and you have the desire to go and do something that goes beyond just money, you might be ready to quit your job. For those who are new here, let me just quick tell my personal job quitting story. So I was a software engineer. I went to school for computer science. I got jobs at some big Fortune 500 companies. It was a high earning skill. I lived very cheaply in my 20s. I built up a cushion. I built up a lot of investments and I was doing pretty well. But then I had some things come up in my personal life that led me to the decision to quit. So I didn't really have much passion for the job I was doing. Like, I liked software engineering, but I didn't like the specific projects I was doing. It just wasn't interesting to me. I had a new relationship that was long distance. So if I wanted to move to be closer with her, I had to leave. So thankfully, from all the cheap living, I had the financial means to be able to go and quit my job. And that's eventually what I did. So I slowly started planning, working on the side on my dreams, working on my YouTube after work. And eventually I built up a big buffer and I built up some income and then I quit. And I've been doing this for almost a year and it's given me a new perspective on what this new life without a job looks like. As with anything, there's a lot of pros and cons. And in my personal situation, I feel like I have about 2 years to make this work. So I just got married. I'm planning to have kids. Once they're born, I'm going to need some stability or a high income if I'm doing this. So I kind of am giving myself that 2-year timer of my back's against the wall. I have to make this work. So I share all that information on this channel. Subscribe if you like self-employment stuff, but let's not waste any more time. Let's get right into the 7 rules to follow if you're going to quit your job. And this is not a checklist. These are just some things to think about as you embark on this journey. If you quit, you have to be prepared, because if you're at this point where you're thinking about it, it's very stupid to quit immediately without a plan. Like, I know some people need that push. Like, I'm pretty sure there's people watching this. If you're watching this right now, you probably know deep down what the right decision is. So maybe just talking about these things can help you get there. And per usual, don't quit your job just because someone on the internet told you to. After all, I'm just an idiot from Wisconsin, and you should take everything I say with a grain of salt. So let's get into the rules. Rule number 1, don't fall for the hype. Make sure this is something you actually want to do. Because on social media, it's, everybody's like hypes up like how great it is to quit your job. And it's really a different story than when you actually quit your job. There's going to be a lot of frustration, a lot of sleepless nights, a lot of stress, good income, bad income. Don't fall for the hype just because it's the cool thing to do, because you might walk out of an excellent situation and the grass is always greener. That phrase is true now more than ever. There's things I miss about having a job, believe me. So make sure you're not just falling for the hype. If you're past the hype phase and thinking about it logically, you might be ready. For me, I knew that I had to make the move if I wanted to accomplish my goals and what I wanted out of life. And I really felt like I knew I'd be leaving for a pretty long time before I did. It was not an impulsive decision at all. So rule number 2 to ask yourself before you quit your job, are you happy right now? And this is a huge one. I'm not saying that you had a bad month. I'm saying you consistently are unhappy with where you're at. Like, you've been several months now, maybe a year, where you're just not fulfilled at your job. There could be a variety of things bringing you unhappiness. Could be your coworkers, the projects, the company, the work-life balance, the hours. If you're not happy, this is one of the things to consider. Like, don't assume that quitting will make you happy either. Like, if you're happy at your current job, that's a big thing. Why would you walk away from that? So it's a very underrated thing to ask yourself. I personally was not very fulfilled at my job. Like, I had good balance and I liked my coworkers, but I knew I had to make a change because I didn't like the project. So this was a box that checked for me as well. I was not very happy at my job. So rule number 3 to examine before leaving your job is, have you done a full audit of your current life situation? Because if you haven't done this, you're not ready. These are a few things that you have to audit. You have to audit your current expenses and maybe make a plan to cut back on some of them. You might have to sell some stuff and make financial sacrifices. Do you have rent? Do you have mortgage? Do you have a car? How expensive is your insurance? How expensive are any personal debts? Stuff like that. And then after that, you have to calculate your buffer or your runway. So how much do you have saved and invested? How long could you last with no income? Next, you have to look at your life goals. Do you want to buy a house soon? Do you want to have a family soon? Do you want to be able to travel and have flexibility? Do you want to live in a big, expensive city, or do you want to live in the countryside? Which country do you even want to live in? This is all stuff you need to ask yourself. You also have to take a look at any debt, because if you have debt and you don't have income coming in for a little bit, it's going to be very tough to quit your job, at least responsibly. So try to eliminate debt wherever possible. This last one, especially if you're living in America, you need to have a plan for insurance. I know health insurance is a big one that if you quit your job, that's a big miss. So I pay between $500 and $600 a month just to maintain health insurance as a self-employed guy, and that's a big deal. So if you've done all this stuff, you've audited your situation, you have a buffer, and again, make sure that buffer's pretty big, because you need to have a cushion for when the months are bad and you're not making much, because trust me, it's going to happen. So if you have at least 6 months of runway, you might be ready. You just need to be ready from the practical perspective. So I waited till I had years of runway. So I really knew that if I couldn't make it work, I would still be fine financially. So do the practical side and be responsible. So rule number 4, assess what you're leaving behind. Like, get a good idea of what you're walking away from when you leave your job. Are you walking away from a good salary, good benefits? Does your current job provide you financial freedom? Does it have good income trajectory? And could you get to a high place in the company soon? Some people might not be leaving much behind. Like, if you're working a dead-end retail job, the bar's pretty low for quitting. But if you have a nice, high-paying, cushy job and options to get promoted and good benefits, you might be leaving a lot on the table, and that's something to consider. I personally struggled with this because I had a high salary at my job, I had great benefits, I had great work-life balance, and I was making good connections with cool people. So I felt like it would be harder to get a better 9-to-5 situation than the one I was in. So that was something that honestly kept me around for a while. And make sure you aren't leaving an ideal situation for something worse. If you're in this spot where you're comfortable walking away from the things you currently have, you might be ready. Rule number 5, you have to do extensive mental preparation. So you have to mentally put yourself in the shoes of someone who's self-employed. So take your salary, your wage, your benefits right now, and poof, it all goes away next month. Are you mentally prepared for that roller coaster of sometimes no income, sometimes a lot of income? Either way, it's going to be lots of stress. So you'll have tough months. I've had many months where my income drops 70%. And then there's other months when you have big wins. It's all part of the game. Prepare for the good and the bad mentally. My emotions really and my mental have been all over the place. I've gotten better at controlling it over time, but I've noticed that my hunger and my drive comes in waves. But overall, it's been slightly higher because you do have to hunt down your work. If I stop working, that money just stops coming in. Like, I just took 2 weeks off and it's going to be one of my worst months in probably a half year. That's just part of the game. So if you're not mentally prepared, reconsider this, because you really need to know what you're getting yourself into. So rule number 6, and this is an underrated one that I honestly don't see enough. Please try out entrepreneurship on the side while you still have your job. Now, not everyone will be able to do this if your job, takes up all your time, but if you can, give it a shot. A lot of people want to get into entrepreneurship and they haven't even tried it yet. And the best part is you can try it out while still having a job to see, number 1, if you even like it, and number 2, if it's something you could succeed at. You're really ready if you've tried what you're doing on the side and you've seen some success. You have money coming in, you have a client lined up or signed. At the minimum, you just have to have a good idea of what you're going to do. So you can start building during your job and start part-time, prove it out, then go to full-time. I remember before I quit, I got my YouTube income up to $500 per month, and my dividend portfolio was exceeded $600 a month. So I had at least $1,000 coming in when I left my job just to make sure I had something. It obviously wasn't enough, but please experiment with things while you still have a job. I think that entrepreneurship is all about getting out there and going and grabbing money and going and getting things. And if you can't motivate yourself to do that, then you should really reconsider entrepreneurship. So, rule number 7, maybe the most important: do you have passion for what you're about to do? Like, are you really strong and mission driven? You have this burning desire in your heart to go out and do this thing. Like, entrepreneurship really makes no sense when you think about it. Like, I've been working harder for less stability, for less pay, but damn it, I still love it because I love what I do. And if you're getting into entrepreneurship just for the money, you might be miscalculating it right away. You're likely going to have a long time with very unstable or low pay. But if you have that desire to do something great and to do something extraordinary and off the beaten path, you might be ready. But if not, if you really are just doing something, and you don't really care about it, you might want to wait a little bit and try it out and see if it's something you could do full time. So there you have it. Those are my 7 rules you have to consider for quitting your job. If you meet a lot of them, maybe it'd be time to think of quitting, but obviously these are just my rules. Everybody's situation is going to be different. Quitting my job has been a great experience. It's been a learning experience. I've met a lot of people. I've done a lot of cool projects. I've built some things like this. YouTube might be my favorite thing I built. So, if you need my blessing to go and do it, there's no harm in trying, but also you need to know what you're getting away from. So hope you enjoyed. We'll catch you in the next one. I'm going to try to upload a little more frequently, but as you can tell, I've been a little bit sick, but hope everyone has a good rest of their week.